Can we all access our pre-birth experiences?
When we come here to be human and to have the human experience, it means we accept being veiled. All of the memory disappear and all of the connectedness feel like it's being cut off. We become obscured from remembering. And they brought me to this, like a mechanics shop. And there are these beings there who are very technical in nature, and they're masterful at veil application. And I remember them asking me, "Are you, like, preparing the veil? It's ready to go. One last time. Are you ready to go? Are you sure?" And I remember saying,
Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wondered why you came here, and if you really chose to, then do we have the Pre-Birth Experiences, a walk in the physical show for you. Today I'll be talking with Christian Sundberg, pre-birth experience expert and author of a brilliant book on the subject, A Walk in the Physical. And that's just what I want to talk with him about today, about how and why we ended up here, and if we can access our pre-birth experiences. So welcome to the show, Christian. Are you ready to shine?
"Definitely, Michael. Thank you so much for having me on."
Well, a welcome for being here and a mighty woohoo.
Yeah, we did it. We're here.
We are here. And based on your story, which I'll have you share in a little bit, it took a little bit of work. Now, it didn't.
Yes, we've all come a very long way to arrive to this moment in the human experience. That's true.
Amen to that. So before we dive right into things, Christian, can we all access our pre-birth experiences?
Yes, technically it's always possible. It's within us. It's just that when we come here to be human and to have the human experience, it means we accept being veiled. And that just means typically on the surface level, we become obscured from remembering, all of who we really are. And that's a part of the game. That's like built into the simulation. So while it may not seem practical, absolutely, it's within all of us. I'm not special in any way. Anyone who really reaches down and touches the deeper portion of themselves may even spontaneously find not just pre-birth planning, but many other aspects of the self that transcend the human experience. So absolutely, yes.
Very cool. And I'm gonna argue with your saying that you're not special. We're all special in our own unique way, but you were gifted these memories, these, I want to call them vibrances, meaning it felt more real than real. You were gifted that in order to be able to share this with us, to help us remember it is a veil, but it is a game.
Yeah, that's who we really are. This is actually not really who we are. So I'm happy to share that here. Yeah. I appreciate the comment about the specialness. I simply meant that, sometimes people think, oh, that person is exclusive somehow. No, that's not how it works. We are all really our higher selves. We really are multidimensional beings. So that higher aspect of ourself is always available.
It's interesting. I've been replaying it. It's been fun to watch. I think it's called Gran Turismo. It's a Netflix movie. It's about a kid who races cars in a simulation. And he's so good at it that it turns out Nissan puts together a academy where they're going to take simulation drivers and put them in a school. And the winner, the highest graduate of the school, is going to get to race actual cars after living in the simulation world. And I'm thinking, that's Christian. That's what we're talking
That's
about.
all of us. That's what we're doing.
It is all of us. It is. So let's go to your pre-birth experience. And then I might share, I know a little bit about mine, and it's come to me from several different places. And so we might go there, me sitting around a table of elders going, give the works. No, you do not ask more than this. Do not ask.
I get it. Do not ask for the extra fixins.
No. Now my motto is kind, gentle, easy, good. May I have all of my teachings kind, gentle, easy, good. So Christian, how did you come to know your pre-birth experience? When did you first know it? And would you mind taking us through this arc? And I might jump in a dozen times, but it is a fascinating journey and experience that you've had.
Right now, my body is 43 years old. And at the age of 30 is when these memories came back to me, and it was not expected. I took up a long-term meditation practice, and after a few months, I had my first out-of-body experience. And then after that, it was like this non-physical awareness just returned. It was just there, and it was like someone had just blown leaves off of the ground, and there was this memory. But it's not just memory. It's like an alive, living. I love the word that you use, vibrance. It's like a vibrant, living occurrence happening now, even though it also feels like millions of years ago at the same time. It's very hard to describe that. And I actually had the memory briefly when I was a young child, up until the age of 5 or 6, and then it left me. So for much of my early adult life, I had no idea, that just didn't have any awareness of that. But now it's just so normal for me. And I just see the world as like, oh my gosh, like we are all brave, powerful beings walking around having this experience together. And I just want to remind people, I'm like so motivated to say, hey, you know what? Like you're not just these limitations and the fear that we experience here. No, no, no. We are so much more. So I can share a bit about my experience. Please do interrupt if you wish.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in one time. First off, I want to go to age 30. So I've got Christian at age 30. Let's set the stage. Where were you in life? Was there a spark inside of you? What flipped the switch and started you down the road to what I'm going to call becoming an intraneer, meaning, or an intronaut? You were going from looking at the whole world at large to saying, oh, wait, I've got to dive in. I got to figure this out. What happened?
Yeah. So, I've always been a spiritual seeker. And in my early adult life, it took the form of Lutheran Christianity. So that was my tradition at the time. But I was always seeking, and there was one video by a physicist and consciousness explorer named Tom Campbell. I really
Oh,
love the
yeah.
man. His work really helped me. And he said one sentence in one of his videos that kind of like irritated me, like just scratched the ego a little
Oh,
bit. And I felt
goody.
this little voice say, why did that sting? I was like, yeah, why did that sting? And that little nudge sent me to watching his videos, buying his book. But most importantly, he recommended meditation. He said, just go find out. Go see what your consciousness is beneath thought, beneath all thought. Don't settle for any thinking. Go actually investigate very objectively, like a scientist. Go look. And at first, I just started doing it because it felt good. It was relieving. And then after a few months, I had my first non-physical experience, and it was so real and so eye-opening. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is real. This is really happening. I got to keep going. And so I kept going down that path. And probably within a few months of that, definitely within the first 9 or 10 months or a year of when I started meditating, the pre-birth memory had returned all the way. And it was just so normal. And it was like I was talking to somebody. I said, you know what? I remember choosing to come. I remember choosing and why. And I remember like I just was describing all these things. And the person said, wow, that's extraordinary. And it hadn't even occurred to me that it was extraordinary. It seemed like the most normal thing in the world because, once you reach that level of being, that level of awareness, it's just so natural to access those higher portions of the self. And then the human experience is this, the strange thing, the alien experience.
Oh, I
So yeah,
like how you call it an alien experience. It is.
it is an alien experience. Yeah, it's I mean, every day I feel like that. I feel like I'm walking on an alien planet in a spacesuit a little bit. And we have a lot of assumptions here in our world that we've really dug deep on that are just misunderstandings. And we've really bought into it, and our whole society seems to, historically at least, have been built on certain misunderstanding. And so it's, like I look at it, feels like an alien world, and even being biologically limited and limited in space and time in the way that we are here, which is very specific, very discrete, very dense. That's a very alien feeling. So I strive to come to terms with that. But yeah, I'm definitely aware day to day that it's not the norm.
It's interesting, and I want to go into your story, but a lot of people who are drawn to your work or drawn to my work are energetically sensitive. We can call them
Yes.
empaths when they understand their gifts. I call them mystics. I've got the school of mystics for that. Uh, but what it really means is we feel like aliens. We know there's something more, and we're going, "What in the world are we doing here?"
Yeah, no, and we feel a lot. I mean, the spirit is innately connected to everything else and to each other. And so as those doors begin to be opened, it can be pretty disorienting if you're really grounded into an association with form, that is with all the stories and the identity. Yeah. So, It's beautiful. I mean, I feel like one of the great blessings of this work is that we can reach people who are energetically sensitive and awake. And you know what? It's normal. Like this thing that where it feels alien, and yes, you're having an experience that might be outside of the routine, the average experience. That's okay. That's normal. Like we really are. This isn't like you could just say spirituality is the ordinary, the most real, the most normal bedrock from which we come. It's not a strange, off in the corner type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the more we talk about it, the more we dive into our own frequency, our own true
Yes.
self, whatever that means, the more I feel not only do our hearts open up, but just by being like you shared with that individual who you didn't mention them scooting off to the side, which means you had a positive effect on them. And then they would have a positive effect on someone else and someone
Yeah,
else.
we're here to be ourselves. That's a very simple way to put what we're doing here is to be the authentic you, the real you,
Yeah.
all the way. The
So
real you is love and peace and joy. So yeah.
woohoo. So take us back. Take us back to the real you. Take us back to the you. Ooh, on your attempt number one of getting here for
Okay.
who you are now, because obviously there's an infinitude of attempts, but you know what I'm talking about. Take us
Yeah.
through that part of the journey if you don't mind.
Sure. So first I have to just quickly disclaim that there's no language for what I'm going to try to describe. We tend to think in terms of our language, in terms of words. Words are just form, they're just symbols that are specific to our local context and everything that's built into it,
Yeah.
non-native limitations like linear time and discrete location and all these things that we assume are so real. So I'm just throwing that out there because anytime we start putting language on this, it's really limiting. I just have to say that up front.
I'll give you what I tell my wife all too often, and it drives her batty because I'm always like words. When I do this, I'm in a channeling co-creation. I come up with the words. In real life, I'm always short of words.
Yeah,
And what I always say is language is not my first language.
exactly. I totally get it. I 100% get it.
So in best you can in human speak.
Sure. I remember long ago, before I had ever been physical, coming across a being who had been physical and feeling from him telepathically, because we're all connected in these higher systems, you can feel and know the nature of the being of those that you're with, and you can share it with each other in full, complete exchange. And I could feel from this being that he had such an absolutely incredible, beautiful essence, quality of being. It was like this powerful golden I don't even know how to describe it, a depth of joy and power and freedom. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, what did you do to become, do you really feel as much joy and freedom as I feel that you feel? And he said, yes. And he shared with me telepathically this depth. And I was like, what did you do? Like, how could you be
I
this?
want some
How
of
could you
that.
become this? And he said, well, he shared many things, but chief among them was that he had lived physical lives, and in one of them, he had suffered a long-term health condition, a pain that lasted with him. And the way that he chose to meet that pain, that limitation, allowed a refinement of his being. It's the best way I can describe it. It was like he integrated the experience, even though it was very challenging for him, and it deepened him. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to, I want to do that. I want to do that. I was so inspired. And he said, and this isn't negative. It was kind of like in a playful way, like, yeah, that's what they all say.
Oh
Like you just
no.
don't, like you just don't know how hard it can be because I
No.
just didn't know. I was just ignorant of the potential challenge. And I said, no, I mean it. I want to do it. And he said, well, go talk to your guides. So I don't have right after that, but I lived many times. I found this being later. He was encouraging. I shared with him, I'm on the path. He was very encouraging. And then, okay, so the majority of my pre-birth memory is of a time somewhat immediately preceding this life, and actually the life just before this life, where I had taken a long break in between lives. And I remember like intentionally setting aside, like, okay, I'm going to take a long break. Like, I'm not going back for a while. And just being in
There are
this realm
a
of
lot of
gold.
people here. Sorry, not trying to turn this into a
Yeah,
comic
sure.
routine today, but there
Yeah,
are a
yeah.
lot of people listening to this who are saying, I want back on the other side. You can't make me come back to
So
Earth.
that's the great irony, actually, is that I know that 99% or more of us feel that way here. We just want to go back. We're done. But the thing is, from that perspective, this is like it's so valuable. It's like winning the lottery to be human, to have a physical experience. It's like it's like being handed out of all the multiverse, just you being handed this most precious gift, even especially now during Earth's awakening process, to play a human during this period is like, oh my gosh, off the charts honor. So I'm just saying it's ironic, because here we are, someone because of our fear, we want to get out. Fear meaning rejection, that we want to get out. But actually, the opportunity is to get in, to really engage this depth and this contrast. Anyway, I just had to make that comment.
And I'm bookmarking Earth's awakening process. We will go there, but
Okay,
dive back
sure.
in. Feel free.
So, sure. So, I had this guide coming back to me and asking me, "Are you ready to go back yet? Are you ready to go back yet?" Every once in a while, and just reminding me of my own intention, not like pushing, not forcing, but just like, "Are you ready yet?" And putting him off, and eventually saying, "Okay, I'm ready now." And then reviewing with this guide, oh, this is so hard to describe, my state, like who I am, who I've been, what I've been, and all the qualities is not the right word, but kind of like a review of all the depth of experience that I had in all these different areas, like qualities. And there was this one that was like really obvious that I needed to work on. I don't like the words work on. That makes it sound like a task. It's not a task. I could just see this one area that was like vibrationally like, oh wow. Yeah. I got to do something about that. It was just so obvious. It was like not hard to identify. It was like looking at a chart and one line is like way down here, like, oh, that's probably the thing we should work on.
Yeah.
And it was a very low vibration fear. And the fear had bested me in a previous experience. And when I say bested in that experience, I rejected life. I rejected the experience and I became egoic because ego arises from fear and rejection. And so in that life, I was very damaging to other people. And so that was something that was within me. I had that, you could call it karma. I had that cause and effect that was with me because that's who I had been. And I was like, okay, like I want to do that. I want to tackle that. I want to integrate that fear and process and heal it. But can it even be done? Because I could see like how vibrationally extreme it was. It was
Yeah.
like ridiculous. And I remember this guide sharing with me, like, yes. And because I asked, like, has it ever been done in all of creation? Has any other being ever done something this specific, like this refined, this low vibration in this way? And I was told yes, and you have all of time available to you to do so. There's no hurry.
Ooh.
But I could see the incredible opportunity. See, that's the thing. Like people say, oh, why would I do that? Why would I sign up for that? Oh my gosh. The opportunity for expansion is off the charts. I can't stress this enough, because here we're really mired and challenged many times. But from that perspective, even though it was such a low vibration, I knew, oh my gosh, if I could meet this experience, the expansion of not only myself, but all that is,
Yeah.
like would be beautiful. Like just, oh my gosh, beautiful. So it would be like a service. Like if I could do this, it would be like a service to all that is if I could do this. And so they brought me a life that was appropriate for that purpose of facing the fear.
Yeah.
And the life they brought me was very appropriate, super good match. Everything was really good. And then I remember accepting that life. And then I remember the veil coming over me sometime just after that. It's hard to talk about sequence because this transcends linear time. But anyway, there was a sequence. They brought the veil to me.
What did the veil feel like? 'Cause what does it go from being in this an expanse of, to being stuck in this little glass tube?
Yeah, no, exactly. So this is the memory that is the most at the forefront of my mind, actually
Mhm.
every day. Ugh, this is hard to describe. Imagine your being, and that means the consciousness of your body, the consciousness of your mind, your aliveness itself, connected to everything, like, and having access to all knowing and an incredible amount of history and celebration, you could say. And then having that plummeted down, 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 down very suddenly, lower, 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 and having all of the memory disappear and all of the connectedness feel like it's being cut off. And it felt vibrationally like if you turn like a sound producer, like something that produces a pitch. This is just a metaphor, but like high vibration, and then you turn down the knob, and then when you get to the bottom, you turn it down some more, and then you turn it down some more, and then more, and then more, 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 more. Keep going, more, more, more. That's how it felt, like just ridiculously low
Yeah.
vibration. And when I
Welcome to
got to
Earth.
this, welcome to Earth. Seriously, I mean, it's funny, but it's also like it's an extreme step. It's like a Grand Canyon sized vibrational step from that higher state to here. And so I made it into the state of being in the womb, but I was only there a very short time. This is for this immediately preceding life. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not doing this. There's just no way. Like, this is not happening. I had so much fear rise up because, oh my gosh, I'm not the whole anymore. Oh my gosh, I lost all of what I am. I have no power. I have no, like, I'm stuck in this time, like dense tuna can. I'm not doing this. It's not happening. So I summoned my might and I smote the veil. I fought my way past it because I knew I was stronger than the veil that overcame me. There was
Yeah.
nothing stronger than the soul. And I was like, nope, I'm not doing it. So I punched my way through and it worked. I returned to the other side, but I had a life review immediately because I became aware that I had killed the fetus that was to be my body. And in so doing, I had heaped grief upon the mother.
Yeah.
So I could see not only how the poor mother was affected, but how hundreds of other people's lives were made more difficult because of my fear. And I had all these great intentions. Like I came in like ready to go, and I was like, oh man. Like, and from that side, like it's okay. It's not like there's anything truly wrong.
Before we have our baby now, our 19-month old super baby Hannah, who's I guess a toddler, not a baby anymore, and she's a twin, and we lost her twin in utero, but we had had three miscarriages, and it's hard to say, and it transcends
Yeah.
words, and it's not making light of it, um, but those were massively, immensely, powerfully positive parts of our journey. So
Amen.
if we look at the greater fabric and that perfect alignment body that you were gifted with, it may have been for your highest good to have that experience of saying not ready, but also for this is all at levels at the highest experience for your mom, because I can feel that in you, for your mom and for everybody around her to have this uh, beautiful, horrific experience as well.
Absolutely. There's not one iota of contrast that isn't ultimately used for the good of life. Because the entire experience of contrast is arising within life and for life's purpose. It can't. Now, there may be novelty, there may be outcome that arises that might be unanticipated. In fact, that's exactly the value, you see, that we have to make choices and things might happen. Everything within all that is occurring within that which gave rise to it. So nothing escapes its use. That nothing escapes the use of the evolution of consciousness, you could say.
I have a statement that I use on occasion that might do this justice, and it might not. It's more three dimensional, but not a drop of sunshine is ever wasted, or not a drop of sunshine is ever lost.
Amen to that. Amen.
It's all God. It's all good. It's all here to serve us. And they all, if you think about the statement, I am, or God is, or whatever you want to call it, I joke often and say the giant cheeseburger is. It is all part of this awakening ascension as you're going through the honing of the stone. It's all part of it.
Yeah, the greater the contrast that is offered, the greater the depth to which we can grow and refine and expand what really is, which is love and life
Yeah.
and freedom.
So, spoiler
Yeah.
alert, everybody. When you look outside or
Spoiler
you
alert,
get
we
the new,
win.
yeah, when you look outside or you dare go to the news and you go, oh my God, it's all okay. It's
Yeah.
all okay.
It's like if you look in a kindergarten classroom and there's a big mess and there's cut up pieces of paper everywhere, and some of the kids are even poking each other with scissors. That ultimately it can't help but be a part of the process through which we rise to achieve the higher knowing, the higher mastery of being in this case. So that's important. Yeah.
So going back to your story, and I apologize
Yeah.
for the thousand tangents
Oh, no, no,
already
no
today.
problem. No problem. Yeah, so in short, I had rejected the life but I still wanted to do this. So I remember spending some time in what we might call a veil acceptance simulator. I know this sounds wild. I know this is out there, but it's like a room. Like it's like a room in the non-physical where you go and it's like a pool, like a deep pool, like a dark pool. And then you can get dunked under it and you practice surrendering your power to to a mock veil. It's not a real veil. You can cry uncle. In the simulator, you can cry uncle and they'll let you out. So, and that's not as hard as the real veil, by the way. The real veil is more extreme. Anyway, I practiced there. I did some other things, and eventually they brought me this life. And this life was it was good. You know, it wasn't as absolutely perfectly like 99% appropriate as the first one would have been. Maybe it's I'm just making up numbers. Maybe it's 85%, but it was good enough, you know. And I remember reviewing this life in incredible detail. And what I mean is, it was like if you took a tree and laid it on its side and started at the roots and worked your way out to the branches. I could see and feel all of the potentialities of what this life might be like
Mhm.
as Christian. And so it wasn't like there were events in it, but it wasn't primarily like about events. It was
Yeah.
primarily about what it would be like to be me, to be Christian down all these avenues that may unfold. And some were very likely and some were less likely. And I could see it was very likely that my biological constraint set would lead to a traumatic experience in my 20s, and that would give me the opportunity to re-experience this fear. It would crush me. And I was super excited. It doesn't
Oh
say, I know
God.
it's
Oh
not
yes.
masochism.
No,
This is not
no, no. This
masochism.
was the give me the
It's,
works. I get
yeah,
it.
this was the give me the works. This is give me the works.
Did you get that?
I did.
What
I did
happened?
get that. Yeah. So what happened on the physical surface was at the age of 22, I had a heat stroke in Chengdu, China. I tried to move to China. So I had studied in Beijing in college. And I had a heat stroke. I was in the hospital for 4 days. They gave me bag after bag after bag of potassium. And physically, somehow, my biology is super sensitive. I have a super unique biology. And somehow that treatment burned out my nervous system in a way that I was in absolutely terrible physical agony for months. And it would not abate. So I was faced with a situation of pain that I could not escape, which really, if I had to describe the nature of this fear, the fear is a mix. This is very hard to describe because it's a specific vibration, but it's a mix of being too proud to suffer mixed with being unable to escape agony, unable to escape pain. Like I'm too proud. No, 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 I'm not. No, I'm not going to tolerate this. And so, but in this case, I really had this agonizing traumatic experience. At the time, it only traumatized me. I did not process it at the moment. In fact, I had post-traumatic stress for a number of years. I went through 6 years of counseling. And eventually I found the root through counseling, through EMDR therapy was the methodology used. I found the root. Yes, I found the root. And it took hundreds of layers because the ego is real good at covering this stuff up, right? It'll cover it up with 2,000 layers of crap. So you don't, you think you're getting to it, and then you get down one layer and like, wow, that was really painful. But guess what? You got 1,800 more layers. It's fine. It's okay. That's a natural process. And when I finally reached the bottom, there was one moment where the fear was its truest. It was a moment that I was laying in a hospital bed in Chengdu, and I bought into this perception to such a degree I can't even describe it. And it was so terrifying. And I've subsequently really met that vibration. I've really met it, felt it, healed it, integrated it. I'm doing what I came to do.
We discussed this a bit off air, and I'm sure we're going to go down a little bit, and I'm going to get you back into your story because we keep this. These aren't the tangents. This is the important
Sure,
stuff.
no problem. These are important.
But right now, what I call what Debbie Ford, so many for thousands of generations have called the shadow work, the diving into that fear, diving into that darkness. We're recording this just post solstice, the darkest in the northern hemisphere time of the year or day of the year, which is actually here to illuminate that which gets to be brought into the light. That's the work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so the depth of the darkness, it may seem incredibly deep, but another spoiler alert, our true nature is deeper. Our true nature, which is love and peace and joy, is deeper. The question is, can you really go in and find that? Not because you're trying to find it. You actually go into it with no need to change it. You
Thank
go
you.
and you really face it. You really feel it all the way. Almost like you become it without resistance to know it. And then what happens is by doing that, the light of your awareness, the light of your willingness, burns it. It evaporates it, not because you're trying, but because you're accepting it. And then all that's left is what was always there, which is love and peace and joy, except now it's even deep. It's way deeper. Now it's empowered. You see, that's what we're here to do is to use the contrast for the expansion of being. That requires acceptance and willingness. It's about willingness. It's about quality of intention. That's the bottom line for what we're doing here on earth. We're here to wield a quality of intention that is more in alignment with love and not with fear. Fear meaning ego and rejection and all that stuff, all the shenanigans. No, we're here to actually love. And that means owning and feeling and allowing and accepting. And that's a quality of intent. See, quality of intention is difficult to describe, but that's what we're here to do.
I've got a little statue of Archangel Michael behind me. Not many things on this new studio set up yet, but he's wielding a sword. But we could call that wielding a quality of intention. I love what you just said. And I love that you said without trying, because ego would love to take a back door into our spiritual
Yes.
path, our whatever.
Yeah.
And then, well, it is all here to serve us, but that actually just brings us to greater pain when ego comes in the back door
So
and says,
when ego does that, yeah, yeah, I know what you're saying. So when ego does that, that's ego just is fear.
yeah,
Ego arises from fear. So what you're really saying is when we act from fear,
yes,
it doesn't work. That's really what having an egoic backdoor means. Now you're right. The ego will take 1,000 back doors.
yeah,
That just means we have so much fear that we will do that portion of ourselves. We'll try to do anything to fill the hole.
yeah.
You see, until we actually go in the hole and find we never needed to be afraid in the first place, and then the ego can just evaporate. It doesn't need to be there.
So you're on the other
Yeah.
side.
So I'm
You're
sorry.
you're doing your Navy SEAL training. And Navy SEAL training literally has one of the things they have you do is 24 hours. Messed up one of my friends badly.
Oh man.
24 hours in a sensory deprivation tank. And that's really what Earth School is, because we're limited
Yeah.
to these tiny little bits of who and what we
Yep,
are
you
in the
got it.
connection. We're in the dunk tank. So you're going in the dunk
Yep.
tank.
Right. So in this case, in the second review, after I reviewed the life and after I made certain requests and reviewed it with my
Yeah.
multiple guides, I was in a place where I was waiting, and then they came and got me, and they brought me to this. Oh, I can't just. It's hard to describe, like a mechanic's shop, you could say, a technician's chamber. And there are these beings there who are very technical in nature. They're like tinkerers, and they're masterful at veil application. And I was over the earth. I could see it like below me. There was like a pit, like a shaft. And I remember them asking me, "Are you like preparing the veil? It's ready to go. One last time. Are you ready to go? Are you sure?" And I remember saying, yes, I'm ready.
You ever had surgery?
Yes.
They lay you on the table and then they say we're going to administer the uh
Yeah. Yeah, it's
that's
like that, except you're awake and then you are succumbing to like this metaphor has limits, but it's like in this case, the anesthesia, you
yeah.
call it that, comes upon you, and then you have to give yourself to it. See, there's a surrender that has to happen because it can't work. What's more powerful than God? Nothing. And you're a part of God. So what can lock God away except God? Nothing else can. So the only way that you can get locked away into the veiled experience is to self submit. Like not submit's a bad word. To self volunteer. To surrender is the best word I can think of. It's a much better word. Surrender to the veiling. So in this case, the veil, I felt it come over me once again. Down, 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 lower, 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 lower. Huge plummet of vibration. Huge.
Yeah.
But this time, just like totally focused on not fighting it. Like this time, I'm like, okay, just let the veil do what it will do. Just
Yeah.
surrender to it. Just don't fight it. It's like someone putting a heavy cloak on you or dunking you under the water or something. And then just focusing on not fighting it, focusing on not fighting it, having all my knowing be cut off, having my knowledge disappear, and then being bodily. And I was there for a while, and then I sent one message back to the technicians. Did it take? Did the veil take? And getting one message back, yes. And actually, I felt accomplished because even arriving to the physical is a huge accomplishment, even for 5 seconds. It's such a vibrational act.
But now you're in the womb,
Hmm.
and the best way I can describe it is it sounds like you had a panic attack.
I did a second. I had a second panic attack. It's not a bad way to describe it. It's
Yeah.
not quite the same, but it's yeah, similar vibrationally. Fear rose up once again. And I'm like, I'm not doing this. This is not happening. There's no way I'm going to tolerate a lifetime of this. There's no way. A
Yeah.
whole lifetime of this? No way. So once again, I began to summon my might to fight my way out. And as I did that, the most holy moment of this entire life happened. It's so hard to describe. The Spirit of God, the great I am that is at the center of all things, came to me and expanded me back out. And I saw all the stars and all the universe within me. I felt them within me. And I felt the churning bliss of our sun. It was like the sun was conscious. It had consciousness and it was raging bliss. Like the reaction of the sun was like a bliss. And I felt all of what I am once again. And God said to me, "This is still what you are. You can never not be this." And I was like, oh, okay, okay. I don't need to fight because what happened was I was fighting because I felt like I had lost all that I am,
Mhm.
and I was gonna fight like hell to oh for you know what I mean out of fear.
Yeah.
But once I realized, oh, I didn't lose all that I am. Oh, I stopped fighting and I surrendered into the simple existence of being in the womb. And then I was there for a long time. It felt like a long time. And then I remember being born a long time later and the sensory experience of cold and light and sound. But I had no idea what was going on. I was completely lost. So what the heck is happening? Just this really intense, uncomfortable experience. But I was also filled with love for the beings around me, like the nurses. I remember looking at the nurses and feeling a lot of love for them. And I remember being super curious, like, what is happening? But I had no idea. So yeah, that's a short version of my story.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Why is the veil here to serve us? Why was that, in a sense, the most important thing for this journey to Earth?
Yeah, the veil is basically necessary to have the experience for a few reasons. One, the value of the human experience lies precisely in the experience of being
Mhm.
the human character, not the universe. The person has to get up and eat their breakfast.
Yeah.
That's the value. So the veil is additive because it allows you could say the creation of that personality within the whole,
Mhm.
that sub portion of the self, so that the soul can really know, really have the experience of being the human character. It's also very helpful in that it's protective because it protects us from homesickness because the higher vibrational state of being is so freaking awesome and high and loving and blissful that to have any recollection of it can lead to debilitating homesickness. So the veil protects us in that way.
Carl Jung, he had that experience. He had a near-death experience. He came back and he said to his last breath, "Why the hell did you send me back here?"
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of near-death experiencers, that's a very natural desire to go back. It's not suicidal or
Mm.
negative even. It's just our true nature is so wonderful. Why would I be here? So the veil enables us to focus here to fulfill the intentions of using this experience of contrast for all it can be. So you could say though that the veil is neutral. It's just a set of constraints. So what I mean by that is as a metaphor, it's like somebody hands you a 160 pound coat and tells you to go put that on, and now you got to walk around. And you're like, this is heavy. This is so heavy. How can I make loving choices when I in this metaphor,
Yeah.
walking, running is living in joy and love. Whereas we have this weight, the weight are the biological limitations, the societal limitations, like all the context, all the things we deal with while we're human. And some people deal to greater or lesser degrees. Their coat might be heavier or lighter, but it's that contrast that gives them the opportunity, see, to learn how to walk, to learn how to run, even with the weight on.
Is there a way for us to tell? And I want to dive into ways we might be able to access these pre-birth memories, but is there a way to? I'm thinking of Don Miguel Ruiz, and he wrote a brilliant book, not just the Four Agreements, but The Actor, and it is about us all coming here and acting out a role. You're acting out the role
Yes,
of Christian. I'm acting out the role of Michael. If I need to,
exactly.
there's a kitty crying outside the door who's acting out the role of Sir Meowsers. But
Yes.
is there a way for us to remember not just who we are, big picture, but to remember the gift of coming here, particularly when we are in that world and land of contrast and paradox, and we are in the darkness, because we don't all have that
Yeah.
gift in the moment of having
Yeah.
God. Here's what you are. You'll
Yeah.
be all
No, I
right.
mean, yeah, we're deep in the weeds now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, yeah. So what I mean by that is we have become very deeply associated into form.
Mhm.
We're so deeply associated into form, we've lost the forest for the trees much of the time.
Yeah.
So there's two comments I want to make to that. And these may sound general, but it's important to think from this angle because our true nature has never been lost.
Yes.
So you can't start with a false assumption and assume we lost it. You can't, it doesn't really help so much. Really, what we're seeking to do is to drop the things that we're not. So there's two categories of things that we're not that I want to bring
Okay.
up, and they're actually quite interrelated. The first is form itself.
Mhm.
So what do I mean by that is you are your consciousness, not your thoughts, not your body, not your name, not your
Mhm.
job. You may think that that's what you are because you're associated into the consciousness has become wrapped up within identification with the form. That identification with is the key. So the first thing I'd point out that there then is meditation is extremely helpful because as we consistently take time at first to focus on something neutral just to regain the ability to focus because otherwise we're just lost in thinking all the time. We don't even have awareness to choose what to focus on.
Yeah.
First to choose what we're focused on, and second then to focus on our consciousness itself, the awareness, the aliveness in the present moment itself. And as we do that, we are automatically loosening our grip on the form, not because we're trying to. We're not sitting there going, okay, I'm going to loosen my grip on form now because that's a new form. No, we're just going and refamiliarizing ourselves with the spacious aliveness that we already are. And as we do that, it
Mhm.
creates space, beautiful space, for the truth of who we are to rise back up because we were never actually the form association. Okay, then the second category then is related, but very important. And that is we have fear. Fear just means that we've bought into a perception that's not in alignment with the truth of who we are. So, because of the form, because of the pain, because this person picked on me, because I don't have money, because I can't find a mate, because I'm sick, because of all these whatevers, we buy into a perception I'm powerless, or I am unworthy of love, or I am not free, or whatever else it might be. And we do it deep down and super quick. It can happen when you're 3 years old. You don't even know how quick it happens. The ego comes right to the rescue. Ah, no, no, no. You're not powerless because you can punch this person next to you. Don't you feel better now? You know what I'm saying? Like that is what the ego portion of ourselves does, just trying to
Mhm.
fix the problem, you know? But the thing is, I'm pointing out that fear, so all the ego shenanigans come from fear, but fear always happens when we buy into some perception that is not who we really are. Who we truly are is powerful. We are power and joy and love and peace and freedom. That is our true nature. And anytime that we don't feel like that, we start rejecting the experience in some way because we have fear that we're not those things. So, first being form association, second being fear, that is buying into a perception that's not true. Both of those are buying into something that we're not. And so, as we process both, that is, loosen our death grip on form, and as secondly, as we go and face our fears, process our fears, go into the dark closet to see if they're real or not, because they're not ultimately. If we really get in there and do that, we do those things, the larger portion of ourself rises up all on its own because it's what we always were. It's not like we go try to get a new form. It's not like we say, okay, I really want to go and find out that, man, I hate my life, but I'm going to go over here and I'm going to be someone else. You can do that if you want. It's your choice. You do whatever you want. But your true nature
Mhm.
is 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 the most, you could say it's the most you feeling to you. That's another way to put it. In other words, go into yourself and find what it feels most like me. And you're going to find, I'm upset because of this. Okay. Why are you upset? Well, because I have this feeling. Why do you have that? That's fine. You follow it all the way down and you find, why can't you be all you? Why not? Whatever that why not is not a true story. The real you, when you find the deep, authentic you, that real you is joy. Like basically, if you be yourself all the way,
Yeah.
man, you will be love and peace and joy. You will be. If you drop all that crap that you think you have to be and just be your actual self, wow, you find, oh my gosh, I am already beautiful. I already am valuable to the whole. I already have power. I'm already love. I love those around me. I love, like last week I had COVID. Thank you for moving this interview because of
And
COVID I had
I
last week.
forgot to ask, how are
Oh
you
no, no,
doing
it's
today?
no, I'm doing very well. So at the time, I'm bringing it up because at the time I was in physical discomfort.
Yeah.
I had a fever for 3 days. I was not thinking clearly, and I really allowed, like, this is okay. This is just a sensation. This doesn't mean anything about me. And you know what I discovered? This sounds crazy. I even had love for the virus, the idea of this virus that was serving us by helping us to slow down and by just playing out its role within this huge play that we've got going on here. I'm just saying that as we get in touch with that, love and joy is already there. So that may sound unrelated to your original question of how do we find our pre-birth, but it's not. It's all connected.
It's very hermetic what you're saying. As above, so below, as within, so without, from the micro to the macro. While you're describing the egoic response to fear and who and what we truly are as an individual, you've
Mhm.
just also brought the answer to world peace. Seriously,
Yeah, that no,
because
that yeah.
it's the same for the larger
It's
scale
the
of
same.
humanity. It's exactly the same.
There are 7.9 billion people approximately, according to Google, on the planet. And so all the shenanigans that are arising from the intention, the choice making of all the players in the game, all 7.9 billion people, and non-human players too. There's a lot of choice making going on. And we have inherited a collective consciousness that has a certain energetic history, vibration. And that in the higher realms, not to get too off the topic here, but in the astral, that's like a thing. Like that collective consciousness has a mass to it, you could say.
Yes.
So as we become human, we are plugging into the mass. Maybe think of it like a pond. That pond has its own history. It has its own temperature, which is the current vibrational state of the collective. So all the shenanigans that are happening on the surface is a reflection of the quality of our intention, which in our case, because the constraints are so high here, and because of our history, tend to be a lot of fear-based intentionality. That means a lot of ego-driven activity. That hurts. Fear hurts. Fear is insane. Like whether it's small fear or big fear, it's always insane. It always hurts. And we've institutionalized even egoic patterns in response to fear all throughout our society. And a lot of people hurt because we're aligning with fear. The solution, then, to put it very simply, is love. Love by the individual and love by
Mhm.
the collective. But don't worry about the collective. You're you are a part of the collective. When you choose a loving intention in your life, even in a small way, you are a part of the pond and you're actualizing a vibration that touches the entire pond. So when you choose love, even in a small way, when you face your own fear and own your own crap, even in a small way, you are helping the entire collective to heal, the whole thing. Because it's like a change in the temperature of the water, and then other beings are like given permission, so to speak, vibrationally. They're encouraged to face their crap and to bring love into their lives. So it very much is a powerful process of the individual to choose love rather than fear. And we often think like, oh my gosh, I have to do all these big things on the surface. I got to fix all the organizations. I got to fix all the systems. I got to move all the objects around. You don't have to, it's all virtual. You don't have to do any of that. That will happen. That will arise. That
Mhm.
will unfold as we choose love in whatever love means. And love is not demanding. It can be the smallest thing. It could be smiling to somebody at the store. It can be accepting yourself. It could be feeling a fear that you've been rejecting for years as you brush your teeth in the mirror. That is helping the whole to heal. It's not about it's this is not a hopeless situation at all. We've what's one of the big, huge misunderstandings of Earth is this idea of hopelessness, like all the power is out there in these big organizations and these big governments. No, 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 no. You have the power. We have the power to choose love, and that is more than enough.
Thank you. So then let's go to pre-birth experiences and how we can start to experience or remember them. And then I want to go to Earth's awakening process.
Okay. So that's a very personal question.
Mhm.
How we each find our true nature will be unique to each of us because we are very unique souls,
Yeah.
and our relationship to form is very unique, and our stories are very unique, our patterns are very unique. So it's very difficult to put like one thing on that. But I could say just a couple comments, just two recommendations. One, meditation. I highly recommend meditation so that we use time, take time to gain familiarity with that consciousness that we already are. And the second thing is to try to see just in the current moment how you can, what this current moment is saying about love or fear. How are you making a decision based out of fear right now versus how could you choose to be loving or free or more yourself, more your true self now?
Yeah.
Now, I know that those two things may not sound directly related, but the thing is, they're very directly related because it's only the association into all the things that we're not that truly separates us. As we return closer vibrationally to who we really are,
Mhm.
yeah, we're veiled, but the veil is organic, you could say. It's porous, maybe you could say. And one of the things the veil does is the more you focus into form, the more form you get. The more you focus towards who you really are, yeah, there's nothing truly preventing you from stepping back to who you really are ever. And it's from that place that we see, why we came, why we chose to come.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And that's it was for me. Um, it started coming in glimmers and glimpses, and then it started coming through in my automatic writing. And then it started
Yeah.
coming through in a past life regression. It matched my automatic writing. There's me around those guides or those elders saying, give me the
Give me the
works.
sandwich.
And it was like out of I'm forgetting the actor's name, but I'm looking, is it De Niro or something? You can't handle the truth. They're going, you can't handle the works. And I'm going, give me the works.
It is funny because you're not the only one. A lot of us do that. We're really ambitious and we say, Give me it all. I want it all. I want to do it all," because we see the opportunity. And it's often the guides who are like, you know what? Maybe you should just back that off a little bit because it's going to be hard. And we're like, no, but I really want to get in there. There is an optimal level of challenge. The guides help us to find that. Even while we're here, they help us to do that.
Yeah, beautiful. So you mentioned early on, it's such and this is what I've been sharing with people. It's such a joy. It's such a privilege. There's an infinitude again of souls out there, of beings that I believe would love. And it's a personal bias. It's like saying, this is the only part of your town, but that would love to come to Earth at this time. And it's 7.9, as you say, billion who have won the lottery to
Yes.
be here now. Why now? What's special about now? What's going on from what you can tell now?
Yes. So in my pre-birth experience, I was born in 1980. And in my pre-birth experience, I remember knowing, just very matter of factly,
Yeah,
that the Earth was beginning the awakening process
yeah,
at that time. In 1980, it was at really the first days, early days, and I knew that within my lifetime it would be the major and actually it'll even continue past my lifetime, but it was really like the act of the play was the awakening. So what does that mean? Okay, so we are in an extreme vibrational place here on
that's
Earth,
an
and
understatement.
like extreme, like it's crazy. And we, like I said, we have a huge amount of historical vibrational crap that is with us
Mhm.
through our long history, a lot of fear, a lot of trauma. And so the awakening is a process in which humankind, the collective consciousness, and the Earth itself, the whole pond, is seeking to really process that crap and wake back up to who we really are, and in so doing to integrate that old crap. So it's an increase in vibration, but it's not just an increase in vibration for its sake. It means facing and processing and healing all that old crap. which is a shift to a completely new way of living and way of being on Earth. And that step, so to your original question, why is that
Mhm.
so valuable? That step is very unique. Like what we're doing on Earth is very, very unique because we're trying to take a very big step in a relatively short amount of time with a huge amount of vibrational baggage, like at all at once.
Why does
And
this
so
say
that
sound like
makes
a TSA line gone bad?
yeah, right. Yeah. So I mean, so when we see that from the rest, like, wow, that is ambitious. That's a really interesting. Wow, I wonder if we can do that, if they can do that,
Yeah.
and to play one role here, even to be an animal on Earth at this time
Mhm.
is a service because this is one heck of an ambitious, powerful activity that is unfolding through the awakening now. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Is there, can you tell? I mean, we talked about uh, everything being a part of this whole, but we also look at it, and one of the things many teachers have talked about is, eh, well, I guess I could put it that way. Does humanity have a choice we get to make right now?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So it's not just one choice, it's that every single person is making choices of love or fear every moment. That's really the name of the game. Are we choosing love or fear? Are we going to meet our crap or are we going to run away from it? Are we going to hide behind beliefs that may hurt others?
Mhm.
Or are we going to face that stuff and really, really own who we are, be our true nature here? That's the choice. And we do have a choice. It's not a foregone conclusion. No, we do have a lot of help. We have a ton of help, but it is a rather ambitious process.
And we're going to dovetail in another direction and get back to pre-birth and life before life experiences. But when you say the conclusion, it's not a foregone conclusion. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, so first of all, let me say that spirit can't fail. So when I say that, I don't mean like we can really screw up and fail. No, that's not possible. Like we said right at the beginning, it's life uses everything for the good and for its own growth. But when I say it's not a foregone conclusion, I mean we're really here. Like we're really doing the
Oh
human thing.
yeah.
We're really making choices. We're really choosing what to do, how to behave, what to eat, how to affect each other, what jobs to work, how to spend our time, how to spend our money, whether we even use money, whatever. The whole thing, we are actually making rubber meets the road choices. And it is in that we are going to make love-based or fear-based choices or not. And as we do that, that is what I mean by awakening, because it's like we are processing the old crap and the true loving nature is becoming more and more to the surface, more and more actualized. The vibration is rising closer and closer to our true nature, you could say. But that's a
Hey,
tumultuous process, you see. That's what I mean is that digs up the crap because now if the temperature goes up 1 degree, metaphorically, then everything that doesn't resonate with that one
yeah.
degree has to come up and be faced. And it can mean on the surface there can be some friction.
Well, I mean, you're talking with what I'm going to call Pele energy, and there's another goddess that's coming to mind as well. So the birthing of New Earth is through volcano, at least at our current evolution of consciousness, is through volcano, is through lava, is through a burning away of the old, is through things coming up and coming up big time.
Absolutely. So I'm going to use a terrible metaphor now. So I apologize.
Shiva, I believe it is.
It's
Go ahead.
it's kind of like taking a large bowel movement.
Oh no,
So what I mean is
detoxing.
you don't process that by keeping it in. You have to let it out. Or labor. It's like labor. You don't resist, you don't fight. You in order for the baby to be born, there has to be an allowing and a pain and a not destructive, but a messy process of something actually being born. That's kind of like what we're doing in consciousness. We have to actually face that old crap and actually get our hands dirty. And it might be painful or destructive at times. Facing fear can be difficult. That's the bottom line. Facing fear is a painful process. And so we're talking about doing this on an epic scale.
Hey, I hear my baby is awake. Sir Meowsers woke the baby. It's all good. And she may or may not come in to say hi, but I'm thinking of your 12 and 14-year old. And I'm thinking and wondering what daddy has shared because the timing of this and the timing of your mm, awakening or remembering or whatever dovetails perfectly with them starting to anchor more into the physical rather than their consciousness from the other side. What have you shared with them or helped them to either remember or to anchor into?
Yeah. So I've shared very openly with them, especially over the last 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
So for them, it's a very normal household discussion point, eh, to the point of, yeah, we know, Dad. We know we're not human, Dad.
I can see that.
They're young teenagers,
Yeah.
14 and 12, almost teenagers.
Yeah.
So, they're caught up in that. That's a very intense part of life.
Yes.
But of course, at least try to make available to them, hey, if you ever have a sense of what you're doing, what you need to do, what you want to do, who you really are, how you want to express, please let me know. Because I feel like we're all intuitively guided. So I'm simply trying to give them an environment in which they can grow healthfully, love with love. And then if there's some way that they can fulfill their intentionality for coming, I'm happy to help if I can. But yeah, they're playing the human characters, and that's great.
I like it. So you've talked about before, things are kind of, this is my word, not yours, backwards here on Earth. All of the structures, all of the constructs are almost paradoxically or diabolically opposite of what they are on the. I don't even like to use the term, but we're going to play with it. Say the other side of the veil, because at the end of the day, there is no other side. It is all here right now. We're just got the horse blinders on. But can you share with us some of those structures and how they're different and how remembering them can help us change life here on earth?
Oh my gosh, yes. Absolutely. No, I'm very, very passionate about that. In fact, I feel that my book, A Walk in the Physical, was written for the intention of speaking directly to that. Okay, so chief among them,
Yes.
we believe in separation
Mm-hmm.
here. It's an assumed thing. I am not the desk. It sounds crazy. The desk is over there. I'm over here. I'm not the person next to me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not the animal over there.
Mm-hmm.
I am me. They are them. We are separate. Okay. And then the ego, oh man, the fear rises up because guess what? We're not separate. We're not disconnected, but we feel disconnected. So the ego comes rising up mightily to fix the problem. And we form all sorts of institutions based on us versus them thinking, nations, you know, political affiliations, religions, all football teams, maybe. I don't know. Any expression of this, oh no, my group and I need to protect myself at the expense of the other. I need to serve myself at the expense of the other. I need to protect and serve my group at the expense of the other group. We evolved. The species evolved in a world of limited resources.
Mm-hmm.
We evolved in a predatory environment, you could say,
Yeah.
where in this reality, at least how Earth is developed, I'm not saying this is actually always required, because
Mm-hmm.
it's not actually technically always required, but we've evolved in a world where we eat the physical substance of another being to get physical energy, and we pass that along in a food chain. And then, so that whole thing is not native to who we are. That whole thing is not native. We assume separation. In fact, let's just take one example and pick on one. I come from, a religious tradition background 15 years ago, so I can at least mention one thing. In Christianity, as an example, we are taught you are separate from God and you are born sinful. That's wrong already. I'm not trying to attack. I honor the religious traditions and the way that spirit works through them. I honor them. I honor Christianity, especially because of my own background. I'm just saying, though, that when we start with that premise that we are separate and we're sinful, that means we are bad, fundamentally bad. We're already anything we build on top of that's not right. But our society is built on ideas like that. You see, so I'm just saying that there's a channeled guide I love named Silver Birch.
Yeah.
He was channeled by Maurice Barbanel back in the 1930s in the UK. Very hard to find his books, but he speaks at great length, beautiful, eloquent length about the divine laws of the Great Spirit and how we should align with the divine laws of the Great Spirit, which are
Mm-hmm.
based in love and not based in separation and ego and fear. And what we see is a product of our choice that we've made when we choose us over them, when we choose me over the person next to me, when we choose to believe in the pain of separation and to
Mm-hmm.
not walk toward the experience, you see. We end up hurting each other. We look around and then we say, oh, the world's a mess. I blame the world. I blame God. I blame this other group. I blame anything I can because that the ego's first move is to blame because now we feel like we got a tiny bit of power back somehow. It doesn't actually work. Blame doesn't work. So that's just one example. We take that so like we just assume we're separate. Another thing that we assume is linear time. We assume that everything moves in one direction. Common question is, what is the end? What's the end game? Not easy to speak to that because the entire linear system has arisen within consciousness, which already transcends linear time. It's created linear time as a creation, you see. And yet, a lot of our understanding is built on that assumption. So, or here's another one. The physical produces consciousness. No, no, no. I know that the brain is a very important part of the biological mechanism. And if you
Yeah.
affect the brain, you very much affect what the individual can do and experience through the physical avatar. Yes, of course. But no, the brain does not produce consciousness. It's more like a limiter, more like a reduction valve. That's not even true, not even a fundamental thing. What's fundamentally real is consciousness itself, and consciousness gives rise to the experience of form. See, we have that backwards. So we just have so many root assumptions backwards, and then we've built our understanding on it. Yeah.
One of the ones that I've heard you talk about that to me is, oh, it's everything today. It's everything. It's nothing. Nothing is everything. Power structure. We're going into a time of what appears to be, if we don't take back our own power, authoritarian rule. Rule in quotes, because you can never rule on the inside. But we're going to this place of, here, take my pie.
So local power, when I say local power, I mean physical power, is not very powerful. It's not true power. So as an example, somebody could walk into my house right now and, shoot me with a gun. They have that power. That's as far as fear power can possibly manifest. It can't go any further than that because it only has to work with these non-native forms. Whereas the true power, the thing that gives rise to the entire virtual experience, to all the laws of physics, to all the entire experience of the physical, that true power is, you could say, synonymous with love. It's life itself, it's consciousness itself, it's made of love. Love is the true power. And we see this actually through I don't want to get on too much of a tangent because I'm not trying to focus on the physical outcome, but even in manifestation,
Yes.
we find that when we align with love, manifestation happens very naturally, very smoothly. Synchronicity arises on its own. Whereas when we're sitting in fear and going, oh my gosh, I really need this thing because I'm afraid, it's not actually that powerful. It doesn't have oomph behind it. When we align with love, that has oomph. Now, that may not be satisfying to the ego that wants to see immediate results on the surface, but it is the true power. And when we align with it, then all these systems that we've built, they will change. They have to change. They have no choice. They're just organizations. We talk about authoritarian rule like it's some big, powerful thing. It's people,
Yeah.
it's organizations. It's a company, it's a government, it's a religious establishment. It's just organizations of people. We made all the organizations. There are no organizations. There's just consciousness having the experience of being human and humans creating organizations, and we create organizations that reflect ourselves.
If somebody is diving into their pre-birth experiences, if they have an intention of awakening to their pre-birth experience, if they're doing meditation, if they're doing I could put work in quotes, but I'll use what I use for my school of mystics. If they're doing the playtime exercises, because we have enough work on this planet. So if they're playing with this, and something starts to arise inside of them, a story, I put it in quotes because everything is story. If a story starts to arise, how do they know that's not coming from the egoic self? And how do they know that, hey, wait, this is a part of the who and what I am?
There's two things to say here. First of all, I think in my experience, there is an extremely different quality of what these experiences are. They're very like earthly memory is kind of specific, limited, tied to other things, has emotional charge to it, very specific. Higher knowing, higher memory is vast, much more real, much more visceral, much more tangible,
Mm-hmm.
much more personal. So it's really hard to describe that in language, but when you experience it, you know it. I mean, there's a knowing that is bigger than the little knowing that we know on Earth. So that's the first thing I would say. But the second thing is, while we're lost in the dream of form, the symbols of form have meaning for us. That's okay. So it may be that you may see or experience certain symbols as a reflection of higher context. So, as an example, a couple weeks ago, I had a dream, maybe it was only a week ago, that my grandmother, who had passed a few years ago, came to me and shared a message with me, and there was so much love. Oh my gosh. And where I was visually, it was just a dream, but the metaphors in the dream were meaningful to me. We were at Niagara Falls, and this place has meaning to me. And it was also a place where I went with her son recently, or her son's daughter recently, but her son had gone there too.
Yeah.
So it had meaning. So now, is there really Niagara Falls in this dream environment? It doesn't really matter. It's not about the form, but the form has meaning to me. So it's okay if what arrives to us is a form that our local personality gets. And it's okay even if you're not reaching all the way down to the bottom. If you get a symbol or a form or a new nudge or a new guidance, investigate it. You don't have to conclude where it's from super quick. Is it useful or not? Is it helping you grow in love or not? I think we can just keep it that simple and then work with it without too much attachment, too much expectation.
Is that the mission of Schoolroom Earth? Is the mission simply, oh, listen, that's what a strange word, simply, is the mission love? Is that why we're here?
Yes. Yes, love is the simplest way we can possibly put this vast and incredible journey that we're all on. The we're primarily here to do two things. One, to wield an intention that is primarily aligned with love, more aligned with love and not fear, to process fear. So
Mm.
love rather than fear. And that means a million different things. So that's number one. The second thing we're here to do is to integrate experience. We're like experience integrators. That's what conscious, that's what spirit is, those souls are. We are beings who have experience and come to terms with it and really integrate it into what we are and come to understand it, not just at an intellectual level, at a being level, to really get it, to really be there, to really make it a part of what we are. Those two things are the easiest way to summarize what we're doing here in the physical.
And it's fascinating because the ego wants to thwart that. Because if the ego had its way, you'd be hiding under a desk or you'd be sitting on the couch 24/7 and having as few experiences
Mhm.
in theory to keep you safe as possible.
So one useful thing, though, is
Mhm.
that the physical is very good at giving you what you fear.
Mhm. Oh no.
And your experience will tend to be, if you're living in fear because you're hiding under a desk or you're just going to stay, I mean, I'm not judging staying on the couch. That
Yeah.
might not be a fear-based intention, but let's say you're doing it out of fear.
Yes.
Fear-based intentionality in the long run will yield an unpleasant experience.
You can have it the easy way or the hard way.
Yeah, so simply it's pleasant or unpleasant. So it's like a big mirror.
Mhm.
So in order to see how you're doing, so to speak, you don't have to look very far. Is your life full of joy or misery? If it's full of misery, are you taking ownership for the misery or not? I know that's not easy for the ego doesn't want to hear that. But the thing is, misery is not our native way of being. I'm just saying that negative experience arises as a way to show us, like a messenger, hey, you've bought into a self-perception that's not in alignment with who you really are. Or, hey, you're making a choice based out of fear rather than love. That's not a negative thing. It's
Yeah.
just feedback. Yeah.
Let's go into that feedback loop. If you're having a miserable experience, the understanding that if you're having a miserable experience, you've created it. Oh, that just sets your ego, your pit bull ego, and I love all dogs and love all everything for that matter. But it sets your pit bull ego on you like you wouldn't believe, because now you're going to tear yourself apart for having life appearing to tear yourself apart.
Sometimes things just arise in the physical. Sometimes there's just pain. Sometimes someone else just decides in their own fear-based choice to do something cruel to you. That's not always because you chose that. Sometimes that's just how the physical arrives. But here's what's important. You always have a choice of how to respond. You always have a choice of what meaning to put on it and how you use it or don't. So I'm just highlighting that because it's not like, hey, it's not like I'm saying, Oh, if you have a miserable experience, you're bad. No, 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 no.
Thank you.
What I'm saying is we've come to Mount Everest and it's cold on Mount Everest.
Yeah.
It's cold on Mount Everest. There's no air up here. And then people say, "Oh my gosh, it's cold. There's no air. How do I possibly climb the mountain?" That's right. There's no air up here. It's cold. I know that it's true. It's okay. It's not your fault. Here's the only thing you have to decide. What do you do with it? Circumstances don't matter. Only state of being matters. That's a Bashar quote that I love. It just, do you choose to walk up the mountain? Do you choose to seek just a little more love and joy? And by the way, that process of choosing love and joy doesn't have to be a big, arduous mountain climbing. Oh my gosh, this is a huge. No, it can be very effortless. It can be very simple. Do you know, for instance, that you don't have to do anything? You don't have to do anything. There is not one single thing you need to do. Like, even as I say, we're here to quote, do these things. Nothing is required of spirit. Nothing is required of you. And when you really deeply embrace that and really know that and really feel, how does that feel? It feels great. Why does it feel great? Because it's the truth, because it's who you truly are. Nothing's required of you. And then from that, you find, okay, but where did I buy into something that's not that? Where did I buy into this idea, oh, that I have to do this thing? I have to be this person. That's okay if you did that, but why? And do you still choose that? That's all. It's not that the miserable thing is like, you did something wrong or you're a bad person. No, no. You just picked up something that's not you and now you're holding on to it and it hurts. That's okay. You can put it down. Nothing is required of you. You can just be. You can just be exactly who you are. That's a wonderful message. Not It's a freeing message, not like a punishment message. Not No, not at all.
So even though we don't have to uh, do anything, as we're going to start to wind things down and dovetail toward the end of today's talk, and I'm going to want to
Sure.
have you back if you're going to want to come back at some point.
I'd
This
love
is
to.
this is brilliant, Christian, and I can't
I'd love
thank
to.
you enough. How valuable is it to lean into our pre-birth memories or experiences or
Mm.
past life memories or experiences and lean into that aspect or do that as a practice? I don't want to call it work. We'll do that as
Mhm.
play in our lives.
Yeah, I actually don't think it's very important that we lean into discovering our pre-birth plan. We don't need to. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to be you. You're here to be the human character and to live your life. And so, well, let me just say this. The present moment, this may sound abstract, but I mean it very specifically. The present moment will lift up to you every moment exactly what you need. Are you using it or not? So if you feel any negative, start there. Why do you feel negative? It's okay if you feel negative. Be easy on yourself. You're on Mount Everest right now. It's cool. But what did you buy into? How are you not being yourself? You see, that you can use any moment in that. And by doing that, we are fulfilling what we planned pre-life because like, okay, say this. Like,
Yeah.
let's say pre-life, whatever we sign up for pre-life, it can be very different for each person. We could come to perform a service for somebody. We could come to integrate a certain kind of experience. We could come to be this or know this certain quality or entertain a perception that's a certain type of perception really deeply. There's so many things we might do. But I'll just say, if you're here to process something, it will tend to rise up over and over again into your experience, and you won't have to look very far. Like what I mean is you might be sitting there like, okay, I really want to solve this. I really want to find out what I'm doing pre-birth. Oh, but yeah, but I've had all these terrible, every time I have a relationship with anybody, it ends in disaster. Okay, that's okay. Why? Is it because you feel worthless? Or maybe you have, whatever the reason is. I'm just
That's the
saying the
work.
clues are already there. Like your life has already been built up through your own choice making, your own quality of intention. And here's what's really cool. Oh my gosh, this is so cool. When we make the decision that we're ready to like, okay, I'm ready to play along. I'm sick of being miserable. I'm going to own my crap. I want to live more in joy and peace. I want to own my life and be in the present moment. When we really make that shift in intention, guess what? The whole universe responds. Spirit rises up to respond because it's what we're here to do. When we're finally ready to go into that dark closet and we mean it, we will be given the opportunity and we will be guided in strength. Someone will come to help or there will be some source of support or something. You know, like the universe is basically like basically think of it this way. And
Yeah.
this is something Tom Campbell says, and I love it. When you succeed, the universe succeeds. So it's going to help you succeed.
Yeah.
Like it's not like that's by the way, that's another huge misunderstanding that the human race has. We tend to think that the world out there is this
Mhm.
threatening place and I have to best reality. Reality is something to be crushed underfoot and mastered because it's cruel and terrible. No, it's backwards. Reality is for us. It supports us. It wants you to succeed. Reality itself, the substrate that gave rise to all form, wants you to succeed because you are it. So when you face your fear and when you grow in love and when you grow in authentic being and representation, all of what is will rise to support you. It will, because that's what we're here for. That's what this is all built for. It's a virtual simulation. It's built for this. So you don't have to be afraid. You can basically see the world as your friend, not your enemy. How many things change when we do that? All of a sudden, these authoritarian regimes, oh wow, they don't have any power anymore all of a sudden. I'm just picking on that because I'm sensitive to this idea that there's these powerful negative structures and they have all this power. No, no, that's an illusion.
And this whole place is an illusion, and it's not.
It's a real experience of a non-fundamentally real set
Yeah.
of form. Yes.
What you're saying is brilliant. Is brilliant. I had a dozen thoughts till you went to the authoritarian one, and you kicked them all to the curb. Well, I guess the joke that just keeps running in my mind, and this is my old school. I don't think I still have it. Okay, it's in there somewhere. Old school sense of humor is there's this phrase. I have no idea where it comes from, but it describes everything that you just said in a nutshell. Uh, Particularly from Tom Campbell. The beatings will continue until morale improves.
Well, but that implies that the intention of he who is doing the beating just wants you to improve your morale. I've seen that meme within corporate. I work in the corporate environment. I've seen that meme a number of times. But in fact, we are beating ourselves. I think the better
Yes.
meme is that one with the little kid with the boot on his face.
Oh
And
no.
it's like life is like this, and then the next frame shows the kid's own hand in the boot until you realize that you're doing it to yourself, kind of thing. Now, I'm not saying hard things won't happen, but the thing is, you really are deeper than the entire physical experience. If you go search that, feel it, challenge yourself. What if I widen my aperture so wide that I allow all the pain? Wow, things change.
See
It's
that
amazing.
that today and why I'm enjoying this so much, Christian, on many levels is the puppy dog energy that I have today. I have no other way to describe it. This
I love
puppy
it too.
dog, joyous, wagging of the tail energy is, you and I, we've been through a lot. Everybody has been through a lot. And the
Amen.
allotness, chances are, is going to continue. And that's okay. Kind, gentle, easy, good, please. Uh, However, I can still choose to see the world through these puppy dog eyes of wow,
Absolutely.
wow, wow, yipe, wow, wow, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me of something else Bashar says, and that is like it's the world is like a mirror. And if you're looking in the mirror and you see a frowning face, you can't change the mirror. You have to smile first. Now that may sound cute, but what happens is when we really are pissed. The ego's really upset. We don't want to own that. What I'm talking about is actually going into that fear that gave rise to the ego, actually going into the sense of unworthiness or powerlessness. That's not simple. I'm not saying this is a simple process. It's very visceral. It's the shadow work, like you described. But when we really go in there, we find you don't have that is your frown in the mirror, that fear, that rejection of this negative self-perception. The negative self-perception is not true.
Yeah.
Cliff's Notes ending. You can go face any negative self-perception because you will find it is not true in the end. That is that's amazing. That's powerful. Go in there and find out. And you know what? When you find it, you're going to be like, that's not true. That's so real. That's been my whole life that's been with me. I'm afraid of this my whole life. That's okay. Now is a new moment. Now is the moment of power. It doesn't matter if you have 60 years of this built up. That's fine. Now is your moment of power. How do you use the now to go into that and to heal now, to honor yourself enough to see how you actually feel now? Oh, so much power in that.
That is the work or the play or whatever we want to call it. But that's what we're gifted to do, or at least part of what we're gifted to do while we're here. And that sets you free.
That's right. And then when you get to the other side, you look back and you say, oh my gosh, that wasn't even a real boot on my face. But I experienced it. I really did. And I really processed this certain negative thing, where I really actualized joy, even when I was wearing an 860-pound coat, whatever it is. And
Yeah.
then when the constraints are relieved
Yeah.
and you're back on the other side, how much more capable are you able to then know and actualize that quality, that being, that knowing that you've just discovered in systems that are much less constraining?
So, on that note, Christian, where can people go to find your book, to find your work, to find everything that you have?
So my website is awalkinthephysical.com. My book is A Walk in the Physical. There's a book page. The book is available to be read online for free at the third link down on the book page. It's not about money. I just want to share this message and help as many people as I can, because we got to remind each other while we're here on Mount Everest.
But I will put a link to your page to get the book for free, although hopefully there's a way to support you as well. But that is the greatest gift you're giving people.
Thank you. Yeah, so it's available to be read online for free. It's a paperback and ebook on Amazon, and it's also on Audible. I did record the audiobook. That was a fun process. I did it myself. So I'm happy to share that. I honestly feel that the book is my life's work. It's one of the, I just needed to deliver it into the physical, and that's it. And I'm honored to share it, and I appreciate everybody who's taking part in that. And I'm happy to answer emails if anybody would like to email me. Sometimes I get behind. I get a lot of emails, so I apologize if I'm delayed. It's awalkinthephysical@gmail.com.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And as you take a walk into the physical and into Erie, and probably with a big, not 860-pound jacket, but I would certainly wear a heavy jacket out there today. Although I've been known to wear less. There's a video of me running in the snow barefoot, story for another day. Any last words that you want to share with Christian today?
So I just want to remind everybody, there is actually nothing to fear. You really are a multidimensional being having a human experience. It's not just woo-woo fluff. It's not just a religious or new age thing. You're a multidimensional being. Your consciousness is multidimensional. And here, I know we have a really rigorous play we've built up together, but ultimately there is nothing to fear from it. Please be empowered in that. And thank you for being human today. I know probably nobody's thanked you for being human lately, but it's a heck of a service. Even one day here on Earth is an excellent service. So thank you for doing that. Please be encouraged as you go through your walk that there's nothing ultimately to fear here, and our true nature is love and joy. So go pick that today somehow.
And I don't think I've ever had anyone on the show or otherwise thank us for being human, or certainly thank me for being human.
Thank you, sir.
So thank you. So for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun. Thank you for being human and for diving into the fear with all of the heart and joy and everything that you have. And I mean that so seriously. And above and beyond all else, shine bright. Woohoo! Wow, 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 wow. This was awesome, Christian. What a special show we just had with Christian Sundberg right now. On that note, if you want to plug into your true self, if you want to plug in beyond the veil, on the other side, come join us and join your newfound friends and family at the School of Mystics. And if you want to access your pre-birth experiences, simply come to automaticwriting.com. That's that link down below there. And if you simply want a daily attunement to bring your energy up, 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 and way up, you can simply go to dailywoohoo.com. Again, that's dailywoohoo.com, where I write a newsletter each day in this energetic space that helps bring you up, that helps you remember who you truly are, and helps you to live at a higher vibrational state each and every day. Here's a link to the next amazing show. Love you so, so much. Keep on shining bright. How does it get any better than this? Woohoo! Love you guys. Shine bright. Oh.